National Podcast. We are your host, TJ Kern. That is Blake Hartsfield. Blake, we couldn't record last week. That was on me. That's my bad. Had a scheduling conflict. And then the Red Raiders have played 2 football games since we've last recorded. We were not happy with them the last time we recorded. They were coming off back-to-back losses to TCU and Baylor. And we said, wouldn't it be the most Texas Tech thing ever if they go up to number 9 Iowa State and win? I'll be darned, they did that. They go to Iowa and win. Now it doesn't look as good of a win, right? Kansas blew them out. They're not even ranked anymore, but at the time they were a top 10 team. Let's start there with the win against Iowa State.
You got to give them credit where credit's due, TJ. They went on the road. They played a good football game. And they got a win against a good team on the road. I think Iowa State obviously came back the following week, licking their wounds a little bit and got beat by Kansas. But look, the Red Raiders went in. They played a really good football game. They ran the football well in the fourth quarter and got it done on the road. It was a huge win. It got a bowl eligible. And it was a great bounce back from really giving the TCU game away, and it put them in the driver's seat where, winning out put them in contention for the Big 12 title game until the game against Colorado.
Yeah, and they go into Ames, and I think it's important to highlight that is their 6th win of the season, which does make them bowl eligible, making them bowl eligible in Iowa State for the second time in 3 seasons. And this is something that you and I are going to kind of talk about a little bit later in the show. But look, we're kind of past the point as a fan base of just being bowl eligible. We want to kind of see more. And like I said, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But lo and behold, here comes Coach Prime. Here comes big noon kickoff to town. I think that's important to mention. I thought that looked great on TV. I was
Great
really
show
happy.
out. Yeah, turnout was
Really happy
outstanding
for the
from the fan base.
students. Yeah, I was so happy for the students because I would,
we were both at that game day. I was there as well at game day against Texas.
You went to the game day as well.
I was there. So I was a senior in high school, and I was there.
Yeah, I was a student at Tech and had been out all night. It's probably a little TMI for everybody out there. Had been out all night, Halloween parties the night before. Took a couple of meds. I'm just going to say medication, prescribed medication, and then went straight to college game day at like 6:30 a.m. to cover it for the radio station I was working for at the time. And I had a live mic, just going to the crowd, like interviewing different people. Man, it was such a amazing experience. And I know those kids. We weren't throwing tortillas on college game day, but Big Noon Kickoff kind of asked for that when they were like, "Where are your tortillas, Lubbock?"
Yeah, they did. It was a good showing from Tech fans.
Crabtree and Amendola.
Yep. So great showing for the university, raises the profile nationally. Looks good. If other conferences choose to look to dip into the Big 12 in the future with a rabid fan base. But TJ, you got to start winning football games. And Big Noon Kickoff showed up. The fan base once again provided a great home atmosphere for the Red Raiders in a game with a lot on the line, just like their previous home game against Baylor with a game with a lot on the line. And unfortunately, TJ, a lot of the same things. They come up short, 41-27, and here we are at 6-4 and 4-3 in the Big 12.
6-4, 4-3 in the Big 12. Your Big 12 title shot is
gone.
Like
gone.
Any kind of thoughts you had there, gone. But that being said, I don't know that realistically you or I ever truly thought they'd get there. They had a chance to get there, but once we started seeing this team play and we saw how bad the defense is, you can't tell me after those first couple games that we actually thought that this defense was going to be a Big 12 championship game worthy. At least I did. I can't speak for you.
No, they're not.
So that's out the window now.
Yeah, they had an opportunity where if they'd have won that game, they would have kind of been in the driver's seat because if they'd have won their last 2 games, all they would have needed was Iowa State to beat Kansas State at home the last game of the year, and they would have been in. They still needed a little bit of help, but they don't get by Colorado, TJ. They start the game off great. They get out to a 13-0 lead. And they settle for field goals on a couple of early promising drives, which in a game against the Buffaloes, you felt like that you probably needed touchdowns there, but they come up short. And then
I
Colorado
texted you. I
settles.
texted you right away. I said, Blake, what did I say? I said field goals get you beat,
Yep,
and
and
those 13 points probably needed to be into the 20s because you knew Shador Sanders and company were going to put up some points. Travis Hunter was not going to be shut down all day long. He was eventually going to get going, and how it's kind of funny to me, and I know we kind of talked about it via text, but the Colorado wide receiver screen game. Hey, Zach Kitley, you want to learn how to run some wide receiver screens? Just look at the other side of the field.
well, Shador was hitting screens, and Hunter was blocking him out really well and creating some separation. But TJ, Colorado settles into the game. They do get some favorable calls. We'll leave it at that from the officials throughout
Okay,
the course of that game.
let's go there because you and I are not officials guys, right?
This was bad, TJ.
That was a bad game.
This one reeked of Prime brings the ratings, and so we want Colorado in the Big 12 championship, and we're going to do anything to get them there. I mean, the roughing the passer when we're ahead 17-13 to on
That
we
was
stop
bad.
them
Hit him
on
right in the
third and
thigh.
12. Hit him right in the thigh. Both announcers, Dan Blandino, all say it's a bad call. They give him a first down. They end up scoring a touchdown on that drive, and then
The face
TJ, I
mask.
think. Well, and then I think Coach McGuire said there was 5 face masks that were uncalled. Where if you watch them, and they were pretty obvious that you're seeing heads get turned. And the most egregious one, TJ, is the 4th and 4. We're driving to tie the game. The ripped, they almost ripped Barron's face mask off. Then they target him, right? They hit him with the crown of the helmet. They call targeting incorrectly. They review it. They pick up the flag and they give color. It just the whole game reeked of we want Colorado in the Big 12 championship game. We're going to do anything we can to get them there.
Yeah, that stings a little bit. Speaking of your guy, our guy, Baron Morton, let's have a talk, my friend.
It's time.
Um, I'm going to bring this up. We'll bounce it back and forth and just kind of see. Um, a lot of criticism on that social media there of Baron Morton's pocket awareness, and it was obvious to a lot of people. I think this season that I don't know whether he's not going through his reads fast enough or whether he's, I don't know. I didn't play quarterback. I don't know exactly what's going on. All I know is his internal clock is not where it needs to be.
Yeah, TJ, and he's very clearly a little rattled by it. It's making him make rush decisions, and he's panicking a little bit. I don't blame him. I mean, this offensive line has got to be better, and um, just as a whole in this offseason, we got to get better on both lines. I mean, it's really hard to be an elite football team when neither line can consistently win. And TJ, neither
Did
line
you see the
wins.
tweet with Cody Campbell where the guy
Yeah,
responded and was like,
buying
"Hey,
offensive line, and
but
he's like,
don't
"I
buy
will."
us an offensive line."
He needs to do it because we've got and enough of these group of 5 transfers that we've tried the last 2 years. Get some of your young guys to come up and contribute next year, and go get a power 5 or a power 2 or 3 transfer, somebody who can play with some skins, and pay the money and do it, because neither line wins. Steve, if the defensive line doesn't win, the offensive line doesn't win. And then the other thing not helping Baron Morton is, the offensive line's play good, and the offensive coordinator's not doing him any favors. I mean, the play calling is just atrocious. There's periods where they look really good, but then every game for about a quarter to a quarter and a half, the offense goes so anemic where they barely even get a first down, TJ, and it's just terrible play calling. It's bad scheming, bad blocking, mistakes, pre-snap penalties, you name it. But Kitley's got to go, man. I'm like, and I know we're about to get into a conversation about the program moving forward, but like Barron, and at this point with Barron, I'm in the camp of play Hammond the last 2 games of the year. See what you've got. You're not going to burn the red shirt, and it's time to have the and I'm as big a Barron guy as there is, but it's very clear to your point. The clock is messed up because he's not getting any help from his line or his coordinator, and he's a little messed up right now.
Yeah, he doesn't know. And my point about the clock, he's taking sacks when he doesn't need to. He doesn't know when to just throw it away. Sometimes when he's scrambling, when he's rolling out, he can't feel the pressure right in the pocket at times. And then other times he just looks rattled. Like you can on TV, you can just tell that he's not the Baron Morton that we saw being a junior leading this team when you let a Tyler Shuck just walk out the door because we're excited that we've got this young kid in Baron Morton. We want to see what he's got. And he just has not progressed from his freshman year to his junior year. I don't know if that's on the coaching staff. I don't know if that's on him. I'm not saying he's not working hard. I know all these kids are working their tails off. That I'm not here to call out Baron Morton on that. I know they're putting in the work. Um, the results on the field, as you alluded to earlier, have just not been what we thought we would see that day when we jumped on the train and started the Baron Morton hype train his freshman year.
Well, TJ, they don't complete enough plays downfield. It's too many zone reads and bubble screens, and they run the ball really well, but they're not attacking down the field. And it's one of two things, and either way, it's a problem, right? It's either the offensive coordinator doesn't trust the quarterback to throw it down the field or to call passes down the field and plays down the field, in which case make the change at quarterback and go to Hammond, or Baron Morton is capable of throwing it down the field, but the offense coordinator either doesn't trust the offensive line or he's not capable of calling an entire game to where he can attack downfield while also committing to establishing a run game. I don't know which it is, but either way, it's a problem and something has to change.
And let's get into Micah Hudson before we get into the program thing as a whole, because we're still on the offensive side. We haven't even talked about this defense. But we've talked about Micah Hudson on this program this season. 5-star recruit, stayed loyal, stayed true, committed to tech, all about the relationships. And it's the damnedest thing because you've got 5-star freshman receivers all over the country making plays, and this guy can't even get on the field ahead of Coy Eakin and Josh Kelly and Caleb Douglas. And I'm like, dude, you play more than 3 receivers in a game.
Or
Like,
Dre
you can
McCray. They
rotate
played
this
Dre
guy
McCray
in.
over him. Yeah, they played Dre McCray over him. I mean, they played Brown over
Jordan
him. I
Brown.
mean, they played Brown. I don't understand it, TJ. It's baffling because earlier the argument was, oh, well, you can't take any of those first 3 guys off the field, but it's not like these first 3 guys off on the field have been untouchable. I mean, they've all had drops, they've all had pre-snap penalties, you name it. And so they're going to screw around and they're going to lose this kid if they don't play him throughout the last 2 games of the year, TJ. I'm just going to come out and say that. And if they do, that's a pretty damning indictment on this coaching staff.
And back to your point on Will Hammond and not burning the red shirt. I've said all along, protect the red shirt at all costs.
He can play in the
He's
last
only
2, and
played
he
2 games.
so he can play in 2 more in the bowl game.
You can play 4 games, but including the bowl game or
You
not?
can play 4 plus the bowl game and keep the shirt.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it was 4. I didn't know it was 4 including the bowl game. So anyway, he looks like a very solid prospect. He was coming out of high school. He's the highest recruited quarterback we've ever had.
Play him.
And
I'm
his
on board.
talent just looks different. Like we've had a conversation on this show. So
You're not going to qualify. You're not going to qualify for the conference championship game. You've already made a bowl game. What difference does it make if you end up 4-5 versus 5-4 and playing, him in the last 2 games? See what you got. Live with the result. If you lose both games, so be it. If you win both games, great. If you go 1-1, great.
I don't think the coaching staff's going to do it if Barron's healthy. If Barron's healthy, I think they're gonna play him.
You're probably right.
That being said, I went to Twitter with this, and I'll come on this show and say this here on the Nation's official podcast with TJ and Blake, is if there's not an open competition this spring, Joey McGuire's putting his job in the hands of Baron Morton.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
agree.
job. That is a job changing decision to go into
Well,
next year with Baron Morton.
so, and I know we don't want to go too long on this entire podcast, TJ, but that just
Sure.
kind of that's a natural transition to just the state of the program as a whole, right? And I'm to the point where I'm just kind of over it. Like I believe Joey McGuire is the guy, right? And I haven't wavered on that. But let's have some very real realities of where this team is. Okay, they're in year 3. Joey McGuire this is completely his team. This is no longer Matt Wells's team. These are all kids he's recruited or brought in through the transfer portal. Either way, it's his team. He has the best collective NIL program of any team in the Big 12 in the conference. So he's got the most money to spend on putting together a team and a roster. He has the best facilities. He just got a $250 million South End Zone expansion that everybody's seen that looks beautiful, right? They did a great job. That is attached to a new football headquarters that has new facilities, new locker rooms, new video rooms, weight room, et cetera,
Training.
you name it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it connects directly back to their indoor and outdoor practice fields that are right next to one another. So they've got the best facilities in the conference. TJ, there's no excuse. Like it's time to start winning games. And I get that we're in a better place than we've been in the last 12 years. I'm giving him credit for that. Culturally, they've done things in the last 2 to 3 years where you say, hey, there's strides, right? The game at Iowa State. The fact that they're going to finish with for a bowl game 3 straight years. They're going to finish with a winning record in the Big 12 more than likely 3 straight years. Things that hadn't been done in 10 years. So that's all well and great. But it's time as a program with the investment that the fan base and the big money donors have made and the resources he has available to him to not just be a slightly above average football team. They need to be challenging for the upper level of the conference. And I think both coordinators are holding him back.
I mean, there are definitely changes that need to be made, could be made. There's got to be something done, right, to change the product on the field. Because
100%.
the old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, this is broke. Time to fix it.
Well, and it's broke for different reasons. The offense, the total offense numbers look better than it actually is, right? They're scoring a lot of points, but there's just it's very clear Kitley is not capable of calling a game at this level for 4 quarters. They look great at times where they're super explosive. If the defense takes the ball away, they're usually good at punishing that. But they have a quarter to a quarter and a half every week where they go completely anemic. They look lost, and then when they get behind, he doesn't know how to come back. Like perfect examples of Colorado game, they're down 2 scores with 5 minutes to go, and he's calling 5 straight runs followed by a screen pass, and it's like he's not capable of calling a game at this level. And then on the defensive side of the ball, DeRuiter has the experience at this level. His problem is he refuses to adapt and make changes, and his system is too difficult to communicate on the field. They make too many blown coverage assignments where whether it's just a coverage assignment or it's not setting an edge from a defensive end or it's somebody's in cover 2 and the other guy's playing cover 3. They don't communicate well enough on the field on game day. It might look great in practice, but on game day there's too many gaffes and errors. And I think a change at both coordinators would do this program a wonder of good.
And that being said, I don't know how we got this deep into the program here on the Nation's Official Podcast without talking about this. They were going to force feed Tahj Brooks on Saturday to get that record at home. And congrats. Like Tahj Brooks deserves the
100%.
kudos. Number one rusher in Texas Tech history, did it at home. Did that stubbornness to get him that record on Saturday maybe cost you a chance at a win?
I don't think so, TJ. I think this team's got bigger issues. The offensive line and the coaching's got to be better. Bottom line, and the defensive line. I know they've had a lot of injuries, but you got to get a better play from your defensive line. We've talked about that on this podcast, and next year's going to be kind of a put up or shut up year because, like you said, Hammond could be pushing for that starting job. I'm of the opinion he should have 2 new coordinators. The guy I'd love to have on offense is if he's dismissed from Louisiana Tech. I would love to have Sonny Cumbie back to call the offense and be the OC here. Go find you a defensive coordinator somewhere, but they got to make changes. They got to make strides because TJ at the end of the day,
What are your thoughts on Graham Harrell? Is Graham Harrell a good coordinator?
I don't know. I think he'd be better in the Big 12 than he is in the Big 10.
So, I mean, that's another name, right? Because
Yeah.
we love to hire our own guys.
But we know Cumbie's a good OC, so just
Yeah.
go get Cumbie. Like I'm 100% on board with that. And then
But he's head coach.
look,
You think he'd leave head coach to come back and be a coordinator?
Is he going to be welcome back as a head coach next year? Respectfully, like there's guys that are great coordinators that aren't great head coaches, and I would love to have Cumbie back as the offense coordinator. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. And then we gave our props to Tahj. Tahj, well deserved, best running back,
well deserved,
best running back in Tech history. There's a team plays football down the street that I wouldn't mind drafting old Tahj Brooks if you get my drift, Jerry Jones. But that being said, that's for another time. Dude, let's have a little fun, man. I mean, like I feel like we've been kind of just beating ourselves up this football season, and we're
Yeah.
both basketball heads. And man,
Boy, good.
this team started playing, man. We're 2-0. They have played Bethune Cookman, won 94-61. They played Northwestern State, won 86-65. And they're up
And
by
they're playing
20
right
in
now.
Wyoming.
Yeah, they're up. I've got it on my second monitor over here, and they're up 20 on Wyoming in the first half. TJ, they look good. Ken Palm, I think, has got him as like the number 11 team in the country, ahead of Baylor at this point. The Trovic rankings have them, I think, in the top 15. The Hassler rankings got in the top 15. TJ, they're really good. And the scary thing is they might be the fifth or sixth best team in the Big 12, and there's no shame in that this year with how good this league is. But they're physical. They seem to be bigger. They're great on offense. The defense is better. And I think they got a great coach. So they're really good.
I love that we got Coach McCaslin.
He's good, man.
When we hired Coach McCaslin, I did not know about the backstory with the wife and the family and his West Texas ties and all that. I just knew he was the up and coming coach at UNT and he had been doing well. But man, is he not just the perfect guy for what
He's
we've got
awesome. Just sign
going?
an
And
extension.
yeah, congrats to Coach McCaslin after year one. Hope kind of has a thing with giving extensions out.
To basketball coaches after one really good year.
So anyway, man, we're excited. I think this team's going to shoot it, which to me that's my thing, right? I like the shooters. So
I love great shooting, TJ, but I also would love for them to be a little bit better on the defensive end of the floor than they were last year.
then they were last year, correct?
And just as a note, TJ, these new jerseys, these white ones, these are slick that they're wearing with the
Oh, they're wearing
throwback
the
double
white
T on
ones
the.
tonight.
Yeah, they're wearing the white ones with the throwback double T on the short. They're good looking uniforms.
Man, I'm excited. But I might have to call back on my guys. One of my guys was Kevin Overton, and then I found out he was left-handed, so he's definitely
Oh,
my guy because I'm a shooter, lefty,
okay.
and then JT Toppin's a lefty.
There you
So, but
go.
but we kind of said that he's whatever, right? So we know that JT Toppin's going to be one of the best players on this team, right there with D5. So I'll stick with Christian Anderson because Christian Anderson's supposed to be a young sniper too, and him and Elijah Hawkins are active tonight. I don't know if they're playing or what their
Hawkins is in
minutes.
the game right now.
There we go. So that's your guy.
So,
So we're
yep,
looking forward to a great basketball season. And what I love about the Big 12 is every single night
it's
is
gonna be
basically
fun.
a tournament.
It's gonna be fun. It's and the standing in this league are going to be decided by who can find ways to win and steal games on the road. Everybody's really good at home. I expect the Red Raiders to be really good at home, but can you go 500 on the league in the road? That's really hard to do. Can you go one game under 500 and put yourself in the top four of the standings? It's possible. This team's good, and it's going to be fun to watch them play.
So that's it for this episode of the Nation's official podcast here with TJ and Blake. We do have a bye week. Blake, do you want to throw out a pick before we get out of here for next week's game in Oklahoma State? Or are we going to wait on that? What do you want to do?
I have no pick, TJ. I don't know who's going to be playing quarterback.
Vegas Blake is done with the picks for the year.
We're not going to pick this game. Just enjoy the ride and see if the coaching staff makes any changes.
All right. Well, I appreciate Blake as always. And man, I am looking forward to some basketball. Thank goodness. I think the rest of the fan base is too. So
Basketball school. Still,
yeah,
it still rings true.
basketball school indeed, my friend. Which is so
So,
crazy because we were not the basketball school that we are when I was in school at all. So
well,
anyway,
it's been
thank
a
you guys.
decade of this now. So it's a decade as a basketball school, and I'm not ashamed to say that. So it's good. Enjoy the ride
Absolutely.
with this team.
Let's do it. So Blake, how do we always get out of here, man?
Reg 'em.
Wreck 'em. We'll talk to you guys next time here on the Nation's official podcast with TJ and Blake.